Next topic I want to talk about is a way of storing data. So, when it comes to data storage, we have different, let's say, different approaches to that. So, at some point, we will look at SQL and we will use MySQL database. So, we will be storing data inside database, and I think it's the best solution for data storage because databases were meant for storing data. But at some points you won't be always able to get to use database because you need to provide some information between different devices in the same network. So what I will do now, I want to draw something and I will show you how this bolt application might work and show you the problematics of our today's topic on a bolt app example. So let's start with I need to call a taxi, and I have this my phone. It uses iOS. I have an iPhone, and iPhone is written in Swift. So iPhone uses Swift language to operate. I'm calling for taxi, and the taxi driver has, for example, an Android. So there is an Android phone. Let's say Android, and Android uses Kotlin or Java. Yeah, Kotlin, Kotlin, or maybe like that, Java. So one of them. So I have two different devices with different languages in operating systems. So when we speak about storing data in between somewhere, we are having some server. So I might have, let's say, server runs on Linux, and also it has an SQL database. It doesn't matter which SQL. So we have another language here. Linux is C++ or C. So I might have some accountant here who uses, for example, let's say it uses a web app and it's written in JavaScript. So I have another language here. Then I might have someone else. I might have some, let's say, data analysis that has programs using Python. Yeah, for example, Python is here for something, and then I might have some support that uses some program inside Windows, and so on and so on and so on. So the problem here is how to send data from one device to another and devices that use different programming languages. So we need some way of doing it first. And you might say that we can store everything in database. Okay, we can store this in database, but when a taxi driver is going to you, or you going with taxi driver somewhere, you get your location updated like every second or whatever. So do we need to store this data inside database? So, for example, the taxi driver moves, his location is always saved to database, and then you always download from database, and you have this database in the middle, but you actually don't need to store information. Where was he going? You can store A and B, so you start here and finish there, and then the navigation application can do the routing itself. So we have some data between this connection that needs to be provided here, and we don't want to store it inside the database. So we need to use some easy way of passing this information. And nowadays, there are different solutions, but nowadays, one of the most popular types of data storage is JSON. Heard anything about JSON? JSON, JSON. So I will open. I will first of all close that, and I will close that because we don't need it anymore. And I will open JSON here. So JSON is a format that comes to us from JavaScript. So what JSON is? Actually, if we look at some examples of JSON, does it remind you anything? It does remind you a dictionary. So if we speak about dictionary, the Python does have this separate name, dictionary, but if we speak about dictionary, in most programming languages, the same data type is called object. So JSON is JavaScript Object Notation. So what was this? We needed some easy, quick way to send data. And the decision for that was taking a JavaScript object data type that actually looks exactly the same, pretty much exactly the same as dictionary in Python, and store data inside it. Why is it good? Because we know that dictionaries or objects in JavaScript, it's a it's not a table type data storage, but a sort of a tree branch type storage. So we have different levels of data, and we can store one dictionary inside another dictionary, and so on and so on and so on. So speaking about JSON, this is one of the most popular data types to not data types, but data storage formats to pass data. And the reason for that is that JSON is actually a string. So what we do, we create a JSON string, just some text with symbols inside, and pass it to any other programming languages. There is no problem in accepting this data because every programming language has a data type string. So we can pass this string to any program, any device that uses any language, and then we can use libraries or built-in methods, maybe like in JavaScript, to read this string and create a dictionary in Python, an object in JavaScript, and so on and so on. So create a local, let's say, native for this data type for this language in order to work with it. And JSON is one of them. The second reason, if we speak about front end and back end connection, so I'm not sure how much you know about that, but today's front end usually uses some frameworks like React or Angular or Vue, and this means that all of the front end 15 years ago was just HTML and CSS, so basically some visual representation of the page, and all of the logic was stored in backend. So basically, you open this, let's say, kv.ee, so it's estate management portal where you can buy or rent or whatever, flat or house or something like that. So you put all your filters in, and what was done before, there was a backend server with SQL database that actually took all your filters, created an SQL query, and returned you the filtered and ordered dataset that you use to on your web page. Nowadays, uh, all of it is done inside front-end frameworks. So basically, if let's say front-end developer 10 years or 15 years ago had to know JavaScript, HTML, and CSS, and had to know how to create web pages, a modern front-end developer needs to be a programmer because all of the logics of sorting data sets and filtering data sets is mostly done on front-end part. So how back-end and front-end connect to each other? Using JSON. So basically, you have two separate applications on the server. One is backend that has connection to database and has so-called API gateway, where JSONs are generated inside backend and then passed to JavaScript front-end framework that accepts JSON and works with these data sets inside front-end. So if we say backend front-end API gateway, I'll try to get you a scheme for that. let's take something like that. Actually, no. Nope, can't find the right picture. Yeah, it shows the Azure API management, but it doesn't matter. So you have some backend split into microservices, and you have this API gateway. So the logic is that front end gets data from here or sends data there. And same thing with backend. It gets data from here or sends data to there. So you have this separate API gateway thing that actually is nothing but a place where you accept or you send JSONs. And using these API gateways, you can easily send data between backend and frontend, or you can accept data from from some websites. For example, we have this Elering Live that actually offers you pricing for gas and electricity. And if you open API documentation here, you can pick one of the categories. I will check NPS controller and try it out. It accepts two parameters, the start date and end date. I'm not changing this now, I'm just running it. But what you need to understand after you execute it, all right, just give it a sec. After you execute it, you get such a response. So, does it remind you anything? It reminds us a dictionary. And actually, it's not a dictionary, it's a JSON. And basically, how it works is that you have some software that reads from database and returns you a pure JSON. So you can take it, use it inside your program, and later I will show you how to get data from internet. For example, parse a website or get JSONs like that. So you will be able to build your own app. For example, you will use weather forecast services to get weather data, and you can use it inside your program to show it to user in the end. And this data about weather will also be returned as a JSON. So JSON is a good way of storing data inside the file if you want. And also JSON is a good way of sending data to different applications because it's structured, it does have different many levels, so you can do actually a very complex data sets with JSON. So let's start with basics first, and let's create a JSON string. So what I will do now, I will say JSON string, and JSON is a string. Okay, so JSON is always a string. And I will do it like that. So I will use triple quotes. And the reason for that is that JSON uses quotes inside it as well. So I'm using triple quotes just in case there will be any problem. I will take a new line. So what's JSON string? JSON string is first of all similar to a dictionary. It can start with a list, so you can actually start it with curly braces, or you can start it with square braces if it's a list. But I will start with curly now. And you actually do the same thing as you would do inside the dictionary. So you create pairs with key value pairs. And let's create a pair. I will use people here, and that will be another dictionary. And what you need to understand that writing, basically using these ticks or using apostrophe or using these quotation marks, you can use any in Python. So you can use single or double or triple, it's up to you. But when we speak about JSON, JSON strictly wants you to use double quoting. So JSON always uses a double quoting. So you need to remember that. So when you do a JSON string, usually you will be taking dictionary and converting to JSON string. But as for now, we do it like that, and we will leave it here. So what I will do instead of these curly braces, I will put square brackets because I want to add a list of people there. And I will do it like that. I will put curly braces inside and create a couple of variables. So let's say name, Jack Smith, let's say phone.
So you are creating a list, and within the list a dictionary.
I'm creating a dictionary that has a key people. The value of people is a list, and elements of this list are another dictionaries, and that can actually be quite big. So if I show you let's say currency exchange API, let's see if we have any examples here. Documentation. Yep. So it might look like that. So if you want to get a data from currency exchange, you might get returns like that. So success is equal to true. This means that we got the right connection. Timestamp when this data was taken or maybe updated. Base, this means that what currency would take as a start. Then it gives a date. Date is usually, no, in this case, I think it's when these exchange rates were updated last. So, and rates. So basically for euro, €1 is equal to 1.5 Australian. Sorry?
They didn't create a list.
Not here, but they do have something there as well. So we need to see. It depends. All of these. So you, as with dictionary, you can build it in any way you want. So if you want a, for example, here I can delete this people key and leave a dictionary. Why? Because I have a dictionary of people, so I can actually leave a list and add dictionaries inside the list. But if I, for example, want it after people, I want to add something else. For example, I have two different data types here. So it's people and let's say vehicles. Yep, for example, like that. So I want to store in one JSON, I want to store data about different people. Let's say they will be employees in my company. And vehicles are vehicles that I provide employees with. So then I will have to use a dictionary. So that's why you can choose it yourself. JSON is just the way of storing data, and the structure of the JSON you build yourself. Or you accept the structure that is provided with API, for example. So for, let's see, API JSON. I can try to get you some other examples from here. Is there anything interesting? Let's do some JSON. Yeah, for example, some of these JSONs may look like that. So we have this dictionary, there's an API key inside that has another dictionary, then it has a string as a value, then another dictionary as a value. So resources that is built on its own, and then we have another things, and there's a list in here with one element, and so on and so on. So JSONs can be very, very different. So it's and usually it's either you build a JSON, so you do the structure, how you store data inside, or you get a JSON, then you need to read documentation on this current API, like I showed you before here. So you need to read documentation to understand what is returned.
Yeah, and from the JSON they are writing to the database, right?
If you want to, we can store everything inside JSON file, for example.
Mhm.
So we can just create a JSON file. If our program is not big, if you don't have many users, you can store data inside JSON file without any problem.
But if it's big, then the
Usually yes, but it all depends, because if we speak about Python backend, in nowadays it's like that. You have data in database, and Python backend is nothing but a program that reads from database, creates a corresponding JSON with data, and sends it to frontend. And then frontend accepts this JSON and already takes information to put it on a website somewhere or web application. So basically, JSON is way of organizing data in some structure and sending this structured data somewhere else. So in this example, you get these keys like EE for Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Finland, and you get this list of dictionaries where you have this timestamp that represents exact hour, and you have a price for electricity during this hour. So what this JSON returns is actually a list of full hours and prices for electricity at that point. So let's do a couple of those. I will add something else. I will do let's say has license, and we'll add true. And what you need to look at, that I didn't write true with a capital letter T. I did write true with a lowercase letter.
because it's string.
No, it's not. It doesn't have any quotes around it. But I will explain it in a while. So make another person. I will just copy the same one, change the names. So I will say this will be a Mary, let's say Gold. She will have some different number. And let's say has license is equal to false. And let's add something with, let's say, email. I will do like mary@example.com. Sorry, I need to use quotes as well. Quoting as well. And for Jack, I will say email, let's say null, like that.
What if there wouldn't be email for Jack and there will be email for Mary?
That's what I did. I did put null for Jack.
I mean,
No.
okay, in JSON it can't be, right?
It can actually.
No,
JSON is nothing.
Like there is no any email. Like you wrote email is null, right?
Yeah.
What if you won't write it?
Nothing. Just this person won't have email key, and if you try to get his email, you will get error if you use square brackets addressing dictionary, or otherwise you will get a what was that, none, if you use get method to get data from. So just copy that and we can see how we can work with JSON. So there are two ways we can work with JSON. First is working with JSON string, like we have here. Second is working with JSON file. So I will give you JSON files in a while. But I can show you one JSON file here. So let's have a look. We'll take some different one. Let's take that. For example, this is a JSON file. So JSON file has extension .json. This is a JSON file. So let's see what it has inside of it. So I will close that, close that and close that. So if we start with it, it's a quiz JSON file. So basically it contains all needed data for a quiz. So we have this dictionary in the beginning, and we have this quiz keyword. So inside quiz keyword, we have another dictionary that has two, let's say, topics of our quiz. So I have a topic sport and a topic math, and both of them are also dictionaries. So when I open sport or open math, I can see that I have these keywords for different questions. So question 1, question 2, and so on, so on, so on. Each of these questions is a dictionary as well. So we have this dictionary inside. And when I open this dictionary, I see that this question dictionary consists of question keyword that has a string inside. So basically the question itself. Then I have this options keyword that is a list of all possible answers. Yep, so 4 different answers. And answer shows us the right answer. So the correct answer, to be honest. So it's exactly the same for math questions. So you do have this separate math. So what do you see here is a structured data storage. So you do have a quiz. The quiz consists of topics. Each topic consists of questions. Questions consist of question, options, and answer. Is that okay? Everyone understands what I do. So that's one way of representing a JSON. So you have this structured data inside. I will go back. We have this JSON string, and in order to work with it, because if I do let's say print type JSON string, what I will get a string. It's just a string, some text inside. Because I used 3 colons, the pre-format of the string will remain. So actually, if I do print it, sorry, thank you. So if I print this string like that, I will get this the same way as I wrote it inside my Python file. Why? Because I use triple quotes. I will remind you that triple quotes always save the formatting. So all line breaks, all spaces, and everything inside triple quotes does count. So I need to take this JSON string and create a Python dictionary out of it, so I can actually work with this structured data type. And we do have this true, null, and false. These are not Python data types as far as you see. So in Python we have true and false with a capital letter, and we don't have null. In Python we have none. So let's see. In order to work with JSON, you need to import a JSON library. So you do import JSON. Library has the same name as a data storage type or data format. So import JSON here at the top. So now I can convert it. So let's say data is equal, and I will code JSON library. And actually, there's not too many different methods. That's pretty much all you can see. Not all of them are methods, but we do have this load s method, and load s method stands for load string. So load s is a method to work with JSON strings, not files. So I will use that one. Load s and provide it with JSON string. Print data, print type data. So when I printed a JSON string, it was formatted, everything was on its line, and it was readable in our console. When I print data, I don't actually see this formatting. And the reason for that we don't have a string anymore. So if we look here, now everything that was in this JSON string became a dictionary. Is it working for everyone?
No.
Then there must be a mistake in JSON somewhere. Let's say JSON equal error. Scroll to the top. Right click smooth comma. You don't have comma after true. That should work. No, something else. People, there's a space after people. That shouldn't be there. I'm not sure if it will change anything. Don't forget.
This one.
No, you just deleted quote accidentally. So people, double quotes.
It's here.
No, you have colon, you don't have double quotes. So you start double quote here and you need to adopt. Actually, try now because I think. Alright, try deleting these leading spaces in all of them. It's okay for Python, but for JSON it might be a mistake. Right, let's go. Alright, let's say line 16, colon 5, line 16. License, you have a semicolon here. I think, no. Or it's double line on top. Not a problem. Line 23. Line 23 is when we do coding. Expecting value. Line 16, colon 5, char 341. Try deleting this comma as well.
Which one?
Deleting comma. Okay. Okay. So
We need to do it all the time, just four spaces by ourselves.
tab. If you push tab, it automatically adds 4 spaces.
Oh, okay.
Right? So it is quite hard to create a right JSON because if you use, for example, single columns, single quotes here, I took name into single quotes and run it again, I will get error. Why? Because JSON always requires you double quotes. Also, if I add an extra comma here, it's not a big deal for Python, but for JSON it is. So I need to look at that thoroughly. But lucky you, that's the first and last time we write a JSON string manually. So JSON strings are usually created from dictionaries. You don't have to write it with your hands. We needed one for example, but let's look at the output. So we do have this people key and it's a list and list of dictionaries. But let's look at some of these. First of all, you can see that quoting is changed. So Python does add single quotes. Has license true. What do we see here? We see a correct way of writing true in Python. We also see a none instead of null that we added here. And we also can see false with capital F instead of false with lowercase f. So what happens here? The things you see here is JavaScript. So basically in JavaScript, false and true are written with lowercase and there's no none in JavaScript, there is null. So what JSON is a JavaScript object that was used to create a string. If you go to JSON documentation, JSON docs Python, it's a built-in library as well. If you go here and scroll a bit, you can see a table like that. So a table like that. So this table actually represents the translation between different terms in JavaScript and Python. So in Python you have a dictionary but there's an object in JSON or in JavaScript actually. So you have a list in Python, but JavaScript has an array. You have str in Python, but it's a string in JavaScript. So you have int or float in Python. JavaScript doesn't care. It does have number. That is both. So there is no difference between float and number in JavaScript. It's all numbers. And what you saw before, true, false, null, and so on and so on. These all, you might not even use them because you don't want to put some data types inside JSON. But these three you need to remember. So if you have JSON, it will have true and false with lowercase and null instead of none. But in everything else, it's exactly the same. So what we have now, the data is now a dictionary. This means that I can, for example, take take people from data and get a list of people because it's a dictionary. So I can work with it like with a dictionary. So I do have this, sorry, I do have this people key, and people key has a list of dictionaries. So by calling this people key, I get a list. And we know it's a list, so I can actually, let's say, copy it and say for person in data people, print hello plus person name. Why I can do that? Because data people is a list. I will iterate through the list calling each element person. Person is a dictionary that has all of these keys. So I can use that, run, and get hello Jack Smith, hello Marigold, and so on and so on.
How does it sense that exactly it's supposed to take on the name?
Yes, because I address it here. So I say, once again, data with the key people returns me what? This list. It returns me this list. List can be iterated through the for cycle. We know that. So I put this list inside the for cycle and call each element of this list a person. So elements of this list are dictionaries themselves. So this means by addressing person, I'm addressing dictionary. And if I need to get something from person, I can do that using the square brackets. Or actually I can use a get method as well, if you remember working with dictionaries. Get method doesn't return error if you don't have any if you don't have a key like that. So now I can work with it like with a normal dictionary, and it's a native data type for Python. So if I need to add something in there, for example, for each person, I want to add person, let's say greeting, I will add it like that, and say hello plus person get name. And I will print person greeting here like that. So I can store it inside my JSON. So let's print this data people after 4 cycles so we can see what happened. So each of my people now has a new key greeting that has hello name and surname inside it. But that's basics of working with dictionaries. So what
where you traditionally this person?
I just created it. So you can say for x in data, for example, then you have to address each element as x. So I change each person here to x. So for x in data. So now each element of data people is called as variable x. For cycle. So you create a variable here. So usually what usually is done, we name this variable to represent something that is stored in iterable object that we put inside for cycle. So if we have people here, let's call it person. If you have numbers here, you can call it num, for example. If you have, I don't know, addresses there, so you can use address, and so on and so on. So we can work with these dictionaries. Yeah, so we can create dictionaries from JSONs, and also we can do exactly the other way around. So I can take dictionary. For example, I will take the same data dictionary because we did change it. Yeah, we added this greeting thing here. And what I can also do, I can take dictionary and convert it to JSON string afterwards. So let's say JSON result is equal to JSON dot, and we used load s method to load a JSON string and convert it to dictionary. And now we will use dump s method to take a dictionary and create a JSON string of it. So our dictionary is data actually. And let's print the JSON result like that. So we don't actually see it here. That's why I will print a type JSON result. So it's a string. We can see it. So it was a dictionary. After we converted to JSON, it became a string. And actually, I will show you something. You don't have to repeat that, but I will show it to you so you can have some example for that. I will create new temp.js. I will create a separate JavaScript file. You don't know JavaScript, that's okay. But what I will do, I will take this exact result we got from Python and store it inside a variable in JavaScript. So let's say let x equal to that. Oh, sorry. Um, hmm. I'll store it inside the string in JavaScript. And what I will do now, I will say that let data is equal to json.parse x. And I will log data for you. So if I run that, temp.js, save, oops, temp.js, save. And if I run that, you can see that my JSON was structurized and read as a JSON, not as JSON string. Because if I print x, that is a string, and do that, so you can see that x is just a string. So it's same as it was in Python, but that is an object. So I took JSON string with Python, converted it into dictionary, added some things inside it like that, and converted it back to JSON string. Then I copied the string, open it with JavaScript, and create a JavaScript object inside without any problems. So that's why JSON is widely used nowadays. And if we speak about different APIs, APIs almost always return you a JSON by default. They do have some different types. Some APIs do provide different types, but mostly it is JSON. So if you ask for currency exchange, if you ask for weather forecast, if you ask for example, we have this marine traffic website. Anyone? So, no, okay, marine traffic. So we have this marine traffic website, for example. I'm not sure, maybe Flight Radar does have an API as well. So save. So what we have here, we have this live movement of different sea vessels. So different ships and different boats and so on and so on. So what we see here is a different movement of ships. And the reason I'm showing you that is that marine traffic is actually where was it? Solutions, not just JSON. Let's say, all right, sorry, I'll go back and do these plans and pricing. It's not API gateways are not always free. So, for example, this one is paid. This solution is paid, but I wanted to see data services. They remade the website, so I need to. All right, so we can see it from here. Um, so real-time events. So you can get data as real-time, no, about real-time, what happens. Predictive events. So these are let's say navigational routes that one ship says I'm going to that seaport, so this is predictive event, so it shows approximate way how the ship will move in the next couple hours. So some history, past events, database about ships. For example, I will request a, all right, it doesn't show us demo, but we can try. Well, they did rebuild the website, so I can. All right, I'm not wasting time for you. I'm just will explain that pretty much all of this data can be received as a JSON. So you want to build a program that provides some information about ships. Where is the ship located? So you buy their API, you connect to it, and you can, for example, user types in the ship name, you search your JSON for that ship name, return the required dictionary, and use it to show user data about it. So that's the logics about JSON. And JSON is pretty much everywhere now. So if you are going to do some analysis, you might get data in JSON. If you are going to do, let's say, get some APIs or write some program that use data from outside. It's mostly JSON. If you work as a backend developer, you still need to know JSON to send it to the frontend and to accept JSONs from frontend. So that's actually how JSON works. The second thing you can do is a JSON file. So JSON files do exist, and JSON files do have a .json extension. And let's just save whatever we have here into a file so we can look at it. So I will do saving. So in order to save a JSON file, you need first to open it. So let's do it with construction, with open. Let's call it temp.json. Right, and let's do encoding also, because JSON is a text file and it needs an encoding. So with open temp.json with a write mode. And in order to save to a JSON file, we need to use JSON library too. So let's start with saving, and then I will show you how to read a JSON file, so we don't have to do JSON file manually. So first of all, JSON dot, and it's easy to remember. So load S was for loading a JSON string, and JSON string is when you have a variable or when you ask data from outside. I will show you how to do requests to different websites, but it will give you JSON string too. Load without the S letter is used for working with files. So you can open JSON file using load. And the same thing with dump and dump S. So dump S is please create me a JSON string from the dictionary. And dump is please create me JSON file from dictionary. So let's use dump. Dump. And you can see the snippets. So first one is object. By object, it means that you need to provide the dictionary, or maybe you can provide the list. So both can be used. So I say data. And the second argument is file path. So I can say, I'm not using file path, I'm just providing a file variable that I have. File. Yep, let's try running. Temp JSON was created. If I open it, I have this JSON string inside, but it's not good looking for now. Let's check where the mistake is. Oh, right. Oh, good. So what happened now? We created an empty JSON file, and using this dump method, we took our dictionary and saved it inside JSON. What you need to know about JSON files, first of all, if you create an empty file by yourself, so you want to create empty file to store data in it, you need to at least put brackets inside. So it can be a list. It depends how you store data. For example, if you want to store data with keys, like here we have key people, you do a dictionary. If you want to store different people in a list, you can use list as well. Because from JavaScript point of view, list and dictionary are both objects. So that's why we are allowed to use lists as well. But it's either list or dictionary. And you can write data like that. Also, you can do some things. For example, you can do indent. Indent. Let's put 2, for example. So what indent does, it does actually format your JSON in a better way, so it's readable for a human. Yep. So indent 2 means that use indentation using 2 white spaces. Or you can use 4 or whatever, because it doesn't matter for JSON module, for JSON library, it will still load JSON, because JavaScript is not sensitive to new lines and spaces. And when you send it, when you read it with JSON methods, it will delete all unneeded spaces itself. So actually it doesn't matter. But for us, we do have these temp.json, and we do have information inside here, so it's a good thing. It works. In order to open JSON file, so you can do, actually I will copy everything I have on top and change W to R, because I'm reading file now. And let's say new data is equal to json.load. load and load file. Just because we are reading from file, we don't need to provide anything else. And let's print new data. So in order to read JSON from file, we can use this logic. So json.load and provide a file that is opened. So that's basics of working with JSON. There's not too much to explain about JSON itself because as far as you can see, there is only 4 methods you can use. So it's open JSON, load JSON string, dump JSON string. So dump S and load S. Then you can load JSON file as json.load and you can dump JSON file. So json.load and json.dump. In all of the other aspects, JSON is a dictionary. So what you need to learn if you want to work with JSONs, you need to learn how to work with dictionaries and lists as well, because JSON can be a list or can contain a list. From the other hand, it's all okay. So pretty much now, if you open some, let's say the same layering and just copy data from here, you will be able to create some sort of your program. We can actually take something from here and try to provide information on prices as well. So you can work with that. But for now, let's create I will create a new folder here inside directory. Let's say notes. I will create a notes directory, create one as well, create one too. So Python, I will call it main.py. So what I'm doing now, I want to show you how you can use JSON for your task. So what I'm doing here, I created a notes folder and created an empty main.py file. I will also create an empty JSON file. So I will call it, let's say, storage.json. So empty Python file, an empty JSON file inside.
I'm just creating a file.
Mhm. I made separate folder for them, but it's not
No. About the
necessary.
JSON file, how I should create it.
New file, and then you write just name of the file dot .json. So pretty much if you don't have this file type here, you always use new and you need to type dot whatever extension it is. So for example, .txt if I want. So let's leave this JSON empty for now and let's go to main and try to load data from JSON. So what I will do is with open storage JSON read mode encoding UTF-8 as file and say data equals, don't forget to import JSON. So import JSON, data equals JSON load file. And let's print data. It should, because we have this empty JSON file. And speaking about JSON files, a JSON should never be empty. So if you want to create an empty JSON file, you should either use curly braces. So we're showing we have this dictionary, but it's empty inside. So if I save that and run again, I won't get any error because there is something to take and convert.
How did you create this empty JSON file?
Right button, new file, and then you put file name .json. So you either put curly braces if you want to store everything as a dictionary, or you can put square brackets if you want to store everything in JSON as a list. So this will work also. It's all because in JavaScript, list and dictionary have share same data type. They are objects. They are both objects. They behave a bit differently, but from JavaScript point of view, it's the same data type. So that's why you can use both of them inside JSON. So I think it's logical that if you have a JSON starting with square brackets, then after you load it, you will get a list, not a dictionary, because it's a JSON with a list inside. So that's good. We can load our file. Let's try writing something inside it. So what I will do, I will say while true, and let's leave JSON as a list. So put square brackets inside. While true, I will just a second. I will print you the type of data so you can see that now it's a list, not a dictionary. The reason for that is that JSON starts with square brackets. So JSON can be both list or dictionary. So, all right, inside this while true, what I'm going to do is create an algorithm that will ask a person to enter a node. So enter something to save. And then after he does it, we will add it to our JSON file. And each time a person enters something, we will save it to JSON file. So why am I reading it then? Because when I work inside Python, I work with that variable. So I don't work with file itself, but I work with whatever I get from the file. And if I want my file to be added all the time, I need to use this reading thing. So let's say node equals to input. Let's say enter, let's say to do or exit or exit. Let's leave it like that. So because it's a while cycle, we want to give opportunity to leave the program at some point. And that's why we are doing this exit thing. And I will do if node dot lower is equal to exit break. Yeah. So how can I save something into JSON? At the minute we have JSON as a list. So we created this empty list inside. So what I will do inside this cycle, I will open this file. No, actually, no, I will add to this data variable first. So what I will do, I will say data dot append, because it's a list, I can use append with it.
That's what I told before.
Yeah, append. Sorry, I didn't hear correctly. Dot data append, and let's say I want these nodes to be dictionaries inside our list. So we will create a dictionary that will have a node, and it will also have a date added. So we will store node and a date added. So I will put curly braces inside and say that node key will be the node itself, and date added will be, I will use datetime now for that. So the only thing we have left to do is to open file and add this information. So I can open it right here with open. Yes, because every time person enters something, we want to update the file. And I will use, yeah, what mode we will use? We want to add to file all the time. Right, we'll delete everything from file. Append. But I will actually, let's try append and I will show you the difference. Encoding UTF-8. Actually, write will be the correct one, but we will try with append first. As file, we can use this variable because previous file is already closed. And I will say that json.dump data into file. Let's try. Say hello. Type object, datetime is not JSON serializable. Okay, I think it doesn't want to store datetime. Not a big deal. Let's create a string from datetime. Or actually, I will do dot timestamp. I will use timestamp because timestamp is a number. JavaScript doesn't have datetime objects, so it can't store them inside JSON. So if I do it like that, I think, yeah, but a different one, and that's a good thing. It's a different error.
That's the progress.
You should always look at the errors. I had one student who was texting me like, nothing works, I have an error. So he sends me a copy of his code. I'm showing you where to correct it. And then he corrects it and gets a totally different error in different place. And he starts being even more nervous. Like, it didn't help, it doesn't work. I said, it did help, but you have another error. Just check the error message. Oh, okay. And then a couple of times like that, but always look at the errors. We have a different one. Why we have this error is because we use this append method, and the reason for that is that we had a list, and append can't delete this list. It will be adding more and more and more, and in the end we will have not a single list inside this JSON, or it might be a dictionary, but we will have a lot of different dictionaries here. So what we need to do is actually use a write method, and the reason for that is that every time we save file, we don't just add some extra data here, but we take all of this data variable and save it inside the file. So that's why we are doing it by using, we will be doing by using write, because we need to delete everything from there and save there a new copy of data. So if I do it like that,
I still have an error.
say hello. I'll check in a minute. Say goodbye. Exit. And let's have a look. Let's do, actually, I will add indent too, so we can read it as well. So I say hello, say goodbye, exit, and you can see that we have all of this inside. Did you manage to? So what we have here, this is got an error, extra data. We need to check this file. Yeah, this is out. This list here, and that should work. Okay. Yep. Here, indent, the and another one.
Oh my god. I should again delete it?
Yeah, just don't delete, just put it inside. Because it opened file with writing, so it deleted everything, but there was a mistake while adding. That's why it left empty. Alright, so everything adds. And with that logic, you can actually build yourself an application that will use JSON to store something for you. So we can add more functions here. We can add a delete node or show nodes and so on and so on and so on. Actually, if you look through the files and look at the functional programming here, these files that I gave you, you can see two different programs here. So one is a contact book, the another one is a quiz. So let's have a look at them. Contact book. It doesn't save anything to file here, but we can look through. So this was done with one of the groups before you. They had idea, let's create a contact book or something similar to that. So what we have here, we have this contact book variable that is actually a dictionary, and we have couple of functions inside. So we have this add contact function that accepts name, phone, email, and whatever else we want to add there, but we don't use it here. So if name not in contact book, then we create a key with that name. So contact book name, remember you can create your own keys like that. So basically, if I'm writing Roman, it checks if Roman is there, if key exists, then we are talking about existing person. But if it doesn't, it creates a key with the name you provided and store a dictionary with phone and email you provide to the function.
There's three different problems.
Then you have to write them down somehow separately. Like on old phones. Remember that you were not allowed to have two exactly the same names. You had to add the first letter of surname or Yep, that's the thing. So, of course, you can make it a more complex one. We chose that. So, what happens next is we update this variable with the new data. If we have any, look, like keyword. So, and then we print was added successfully or already exists. So we have this view context that only read takes a name and checks if name exists, then it returns data about this person. So name, phone, email, so some data from there. Then we have this update contact that actually takes same arguments, and what it does, it looks if name exists, it updates values with new data, whatever you put there. Delete contacts is the same thing. You just find one and delete it from this book. So you can actually add a JSON storage here and work with it like with JSON. So it's an example of a small contact book application. You can look through it at home. So it's inside functional programming bit. There is also a quiz. And quiz is a little bit simplified than the one I showed you before. So what you have here, you have question 1, question 2, question 3. You have the question, possible answers, and the correct one.
Yeah, we have done that
Uh,
last time.
where are we?
No, the time before. Yes, we have done it here.
Sorry? Yeah, you did download it, but I didn't explain it. I just left it there. We didn't actually do anything with it.
No, we wrote it here. No?
Yeah, we wrote it here.
I don't remember. As far as I remember now. No, okay, we did some. Oh, no. We did a simpler version of that, I think. Or maybe now. Maybe now. Let me check. Yeah, but I think
It's the first time when you explain the function.
All right, all right. So you know that. Okay, okay,
We are
good.
smart.
Good. Smarter,
If
even
you-
smarter than me.
No, if you will ask to write it again, I'm not sure that.
Yeah, but have a look at it as well. So you can actually take this quiz variable inside the JSON file, and you can make your own quiz with any questions and types of answers. Yeah, now I remember we did it. All right, so have a look at this contact book thing because it's an interesting one. And you can actually try to create your own or maybe change this one. But it's not a homework, it's just for you if you're interested. And I will give you some homeworks on JSON and dictionaries too. So I'm not sure if I'll have time to do it today, but tomorrow morning if needed. Maybe today, but I have another group after you, and I come back home at 10 o'clock, and at that point I can't think about programming at all. I will try to do it quicker. Yeah, but
Just when I'm trying to do it next day,
mhm.
I'm feeling like I forgot everything.
Okay,
Learned here.
I'll see. I'll try to do it today. What? I don't have anything else to tell about JSON. So, because as far as you see, that JSON is actually either a list or a dictionary, but you only need to understand how to read it and how to write it. So, in a couple of lessons, we will be doing requests. So, we will be sending a request to some maybe website, maybe this API gateway I showed you before. So we will try to get JSON from there and try to represent information it has in some way as well. So I will show you how to do that.
I have one question.
Mhm.
It's not about the JSON, but reading file.
Mhm.
I know in our homework we have done the read the whole text
Mhm.
book.
Yep.
But in that case, I have downloaded my own. But can you show me the example where we can take the PDF from the website?
A PDF.
I mean text file or for example, when I
It's
was
the
doing
same requests library that we
I'm
will be
just
looking.
writing the HTTP.
Yeah, but you need no, it's not like that. You need a library, requests library that actually does a get request to the HTTP server, gets a response from there, and you need to convert this response to a string then. So it works like that. I will show you this request library in a couple of lessons.
Okay, well, good.
It's part of the data parsing thing.
Yeah.
So.
Because I was doing that in when I was doing the data analysis,
Mhm.
I was taking the CSV and Excel files.
Mhm. But you can look at that yourself as well. So the library name is requests if you in a hurry. So
No, I'm not in a hurry.
yeah. So library name is requests. It's not hard. You can actually see that you need to download the library. That's the only thing I never explained. So we can actually one method get. You put the link inside. This auth is not required, and then you can say r.json, and I will show you CSV next lesson as well. So how to work with CSV files inside Python, I will show that as well. But for that data analysis, you will be working in pandas anyway, so I think you won't be using a standard CSV library, but I will show pandas as well in this lesson. So. All right, any more questions? Good. Then I